Mustang has always been a very special vehicle to me, and a big part of why is my dad has worked at Ford since I was very young, so I used to always go to take your child to work days at Ford. We'd see all the products at the Detroit Auto Show. My family had a couple Fords. We had a Taurus, and then a Flex, and then a Fusion. And then my dream car in high school was a deep impact blue Mustang GT with a 6-speed manual. Eventually, I was lucky enough that I could buy myself a Mustang. I had a 2012 Boss 302 Laguna Seca, and today I get to drive the latest Mustang GT. This is a 2018 model year vehicle, and it marks a slight refresh on the S550 generation. So the S550 generation was really significant in terms of the fact that it went to independent rear suspension, marked also a big design change, the new styling direction for the Mustang. And this update iteration is like a mid-cycle, so they made a lot of different changes to improve the vehicle, change it, keep it nice and new and competitive with such vehicles like the Camaro. The most obvious things you'll see immediately is the styling change on this car. And I will admit, when I first saw it, I was not a fan. I did not like the styling whatsoever. I was like, they made it look like a sad catfish. Was not really thrilled with the change they made. Certain aspects of it are okay. I'm fine with the rear. They changed the taillight shape a little bit. It's got quad exhaust tips on the Mustang GTs now for the V8s. Full LED lighting all around, but the front end, they changed the hood, they lowered it a little bit, and then the bumper is different, the lights are different, and I just don't love the way it looks. This specific car in all black with the blackout package looks pretty evil and menacing and mean, and I think it's better than some of the other combinations out there, but I still think the S550 Experience styling looks a little bit better. Moving to the interior, it's pretty much unchanged. Slight differences for this specific vehicle. This is a relatively base-equipped car. It's just got the important bits. It's got the V8 GT, 6-speed manual. There we go. There's a lot of complexity in terms of how you can configure these. There's the new entirely digital single giant, kind of like the virtual cockpit display in front of the driver. You can get Recaros. The performance pack brings a lot of different other features to it, but again, the interior it's not a completely new generation, so everything, I mean, the doors, the steering wheel, stuff like that feels all very similar, and it's a big step beyond the older Mustangs in terms of interior quality. Still some plastic to it, but it feels a lot more solid and well built. The most important part of a car like a Mustang GT is how does it drive? And I'm happy to say, I like this generation a lot more than the older ones in terms of how they drove. I spent some time with a regular S550 Mustang GT with a 6-speed manual, and I just came away as like, it was good, but it didn't excite me as much as something like the Camaro SS1LE did. So that was the task of what could they do with this new generation. And one of the biggest things I noticed with this one is the sound. So this car is optioned with the active exhaust, and it sounds like a Mustang should sound. The old ones, by old I mean S550, so like a 2015 or a 2016, always sounded too choked and muffled. Like if I ever bought one, I'd immediately do an aftermarket exhaust. This one, it sounds throaty. In full track mode for the exhaust, you can hear it on the inside, on the outside. It sounds like a true Mustang should sound. A couple other driving performance related things that aren't applicable to this specific car, but they are applicable to the 2018 Mustang GT, is they brought a lot of different cool features that make this thing a true sports car. You can get magnetic ride now in the Mustang GT with the performance pack. They brought wider, stickier tires. You can get Pilot 4S's on these now. It's got, let's see, a 10-speed automatic transmission is an option now. There's no more of that old 6-speed stuff. It's a 10-speed, and they claim with the performance pack and a 10-speed automatic, it will do 60 in under 4 seconds. Horsepower has been increased to 460 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque, which is quite a bit. The red line has been increased. Overall, they've really sharpened and improved this from a driving perspective in pretty much every single aspect, which I am very happy with. If I had to pick my 3 favorite things about this Mustang GT, I think the first one is going to be the way it sounds. With the active exhaust, it sounds a lot more alive. It's louder. It's what a Mustang GT should sound like from the factory. And you have the option of making it quiet with the valves, which is great too. The second one is going to be the transmission. I'm really impressed at the changes they made, the revisions. I think it's the flywheel is different. The clutch might be a little bit different too. But overall, everything about it, it shifts a lot more smoothly. Doesn't feel that notchy or anything. And it's just overall a better 6-speed manual transmission. And then the last one is the changes to the engine. The uprated horsepower, 460 horsepower, 420 pound-feet of torque. It revs up to an even higher rev range. It feels more alive and pulls harder. I love this. This 5.0 is pretty dang good. It's only overshadowed by the fact that the best V8 Ford makes is going to be the flat plane crank 5.2. But I mean, for the 5.0, they've done some great changes to it, and I like it a lot. If we talk about value, so Mustang GTs, they've started to climb in price too, especially once you start piling on options like magnetic ride, the performance pack, stuff like that. This serves as, again, a relatively more basic vehicle. It's got the cloth bucket seats. It does have the electronics, so like sync package and 6-speed manual, so I'm sure this is for someone who just wants a car that's got the V8 and the manual transmission to drive. I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. Back a long time ago when I was looking at dreaming about buying Mustang GTs, I was like, you know what? I don't even care about the premium. I don't care about leather. I want the manual and the V8, and that's really what you want with the driving. I will say, if you're a little more serious about wanting to like maybe track the car, stuff like that, you will really want to look into the performance pack, because the fact that the tires and the suspension, that just ups the performance potential by such a massive margin. But from a baseline, this vehicle, I think it's a great platform to build off, which makes me really excited to try out the uprated vehicles. Hopefully, I get a little more happy with the styling, get a little more used to it, because again, I don't love it. It looks like a sad catfish. But it sounds better, it's faster, it's comfortable, it's the latest, greatest Mustang, and I'm pleasantly happy with it. I think Ford did a great job updating this vehicle. Overall, I've really enjoyed driving it today. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching.